Hola, señoritas. This video is intended for the classes of Miss Lyttle. Here is your title, if you'd copy that down. I will ask you just to pause, girls, the video if you need to, because I'm going to go quite fast so that the video is not too long. So you might want to pause to copy things down. ¿Qué estudias equals what do you study? Your subtitle is talking about your subjects and then using the AR verb estudiar to study. So again, just pause at any point, girls, if you need to. Here are your subjects. We had the question, what do you study? ¿Qué estudias? If you want to repeat that, ¿qué estudias? And your response to that would be estudio, I study. And then after that, you would obviously give the subjects. So we're going to repeat the subjects now. Dibujo, dibujo, español, español, inglés, inglés, francés, francés, teatro, teatro, historia, historia, música, música, tecnología, tecnología, informática, informática, geografía, geografía, educación física, educación física, religión, religión, ciencias, ciencias, matemáticas, matemáticas. And obviously to say I study a given subject, for example, I study Spanish, estudio español. How would I say I study music? That's right, estudio música. So how would I make this conversation up again? What do you study? I study ICT. That's right. ¿Qué estudias? Estudio informática. So if you can write 1 to 10 in your margin then, ladies, I would like you then to write out the correct letter. This is activity 1 on page 24 of your textbook. Okay, number 1. Estudio inglés. Number 2. Estudio historia. Number 3. Estudio matemáticas. Number 4. Estudio ciencias. Number 5. Estudio geografía. Number 6. Estudio religión. Number 7. Estudio dibujo. Number 8. Estudio inglés. Number 9. Estudio tecnología. Number 10. Estudio informática. So your answers were as follows. 1 was C, 2 was F, 3 was N, 4 was M, 5 was J, 6 was L, 7 was A, 8 was C, 9 was H, and 10 was I. Remember, girls, you can see how quickly I'm going here. So if you can pause after each activity, so you've got time to complete it and then to mark it. Okay, so you'll remember our little conversation a minute ago. What do you study? ¿Qué estudias? I study ICT. Estudio informática. Likewise, in activity 2 here, we've got what do you study? Carlos. And if we look here, we've got 3 subjects that he studies. And Carlos replies, estudio español, matemáticas, ciencias. And of course, the pictures here correspond to the ones that you can see up above. Can I ask you now, girls, to write out the 3 phrases, the 3 conversations for Dolores, Conchi, and David? Pause now to write them. Okay, and as you were writing them, girls, I'm sure that you ensured that you kept your accent on que. Okay, so ¿qué estudias? For example, this one here was Dolores. And your answer, of course, don't forget your question marks as well. Her answer would have been estudio religión, música. Sorry, excuse me. That's right, música y informática. Now we've got a problem here, girls, in Spanish, grammatically speaking. You know that this word here means, that's right, means and, okay? But we can't have the sound E twice in a row. You can't say E. Sounds a bit like a little mouse. E. So what we do with that is, before an I, the Y changes to an E, okay? So that's correct now. Estudio religión, música e informática, okay? Just in case you've written that with the Y, just like I did there a moment ago, the word for and, E. The second person will write, I'll not write the question, but for the answer would have been estudio matemáticas teatro y geografía. Forgive my writing. I'm trying to write with the phone in my hand here and making a bit of a hames of it. Good. And the last one then, estudio. What were your subjects? That's correct. Estudio historia, dibujo y educación física. Okay. And you notice there that after subjects we just use commas, and just like in English, before the last one we use the word and, E, okay? So I study history, comma, art and PE. Okay, can I ask you to write one more then? Could you write for me the following? I study geography, IT and music. And what did you write? That's right, you wrote estudio geografía informática y música. Good. So, I'll just let you see that again. Okay. Now, in Spanish, we have to be careful when we're using our verbs, isn't that right? You've already learnt some verbs already, like, for example, vivo, I live, isn't that right? Vivo in Newcastle, for example. Or you've also used the verb me llamo, for example, me llamo Maria, me llamo Ana, okay? What I would like you to do then, girls, today is to take down a little grammar point in your grammar book. So if you can go to that and then take down AR verbs as your title. So in Spanish, girls, verbs are a little different from English. You can see a verb there in the question. It's here, isn't it? Estudias. And we've got one here as well, estudio. Now we said that means I study. But when you think of English, I study is actually two different words. It's what we call a subject pronoun. Okay, the fancy word to mean the person of the verb, like I, you, he or she or whatever. And then we have the verb itself. Okay, in Spanish, on the other hand, we don't necessarily need what we call the subject pronoun. Okay, the reason being that the ending of the verb tells us who is speaking or who is doing the action. Okay? So if a verb ends in O, like vivo, I live, or me llamo, I am called, or estudio, I study, it's the O bit that's telling us who is speaking. Now, we said there our title was AR verbs, and we circled the ending AR. When you look up a dictionary in Spanish and you look for the verb to study, you will see estudiar. And this is one of many, many, many AR verbs. It's just because they end in AR. Now, in English, we call this, we would say to study. Okay, to cover the meaning of the entire verb, like I study, you study, he studies, she studies. But the overall, if you like, the title of the verb, we could call it is estudiar, or to study. Now, to do anything, to study, to relax, to read, to dance, to watch TV, they're all what we call infinitives. I said title there a minute ago, but the correct word for that, sort of the title of the verb, if you like, is the infinitive. The infinitive is the one that always is to do something. Okay? And in Spanish, a lot of those end in AR. They don't have this word to, or they don't have a word equivalent to it in front of them. So we've now met two parts of that verb, haven't we? We saw que estudias, so here it is again, estudias, you study. And you'll notice that I've underlined the AS. I want you to underline the different parts of the verb that I write down now. Estudia, he, she, or it studies. Again, you can pause if you need to, girls. I know it's not the easiest. Okay, and then estudiamos. Underline the amos bit. And that's we study. Don't forget the little I in the middle of that verb, estudiamos. And then estudiais. Estudiais. Underline the ice bit, A-I-S, with an accent on the A. You study. And finally, estudian. They study. Okay, so you'll see here it's the endings of the verb each time that is telling us who is doing what. So if you see O, it's usually I. It's the I part of the verb. AS, it's you. A, he or she or it. Amos is we. Ice is you. And then an, they. Now, I tend to get the girls in my class to just say the endings over and over and over again until they actually are sick of them. But it's the only way to learn them. So can you say these with me? O, as, a, amos, ais, an. Again. O, as, a, amos, ais, an. Again. O, as, a, amos, ais, an. You just have to keep repeating that until they go into your head. They correspond to I, you, he, she, or it for this third one. We, you. That's plural, by the way. So more than what we would say in local terms is yous, which isn't correct, but there you go, when you've more than one person. And they. So they link up, don't they? So if you need to do that little diagram, do that. Let's just say the 6 of these again. O, as, a, amos, ais, an. So any AR verb that's regular and follows the rules should have these as its endings. Okay? O, as, a, amos, ais, an. And they mean I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Say that. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Good. Now, how did we actually form the verb? Well, just so that you know for any other verb, let's take another verb. There's the verb escuchar, to listen. We have what we call the infinitive ending. What we do is we chop that off, so we end up with what we call, I'll actually just show you this again. So we chop this off completely. We call this bit that's left behind the stem, and we call this, of course, the infinitive ending, as we've already said, but we replace that then with the present tense endings. These are the present tense endings, okay? So, for example, we'll write this verb very quickly. I won't write out all its meanings, but I will write it out in Spanish. And then you can tell me what they mean in a moment. There we are, okay? And that means I listen. That means you listen. That means he, she, or it listens. That means we listen, you listen, if it's a group like your class, they listen. Okay, so you might want to write out the meanings of those besides. So make sure you have that copied, this copied, and all of this copied, okay? And then write the meanings of these, just like you did for here. Remember, the first one I'll give you, that means I listen, but you can do the rest, okay? So tonight, girls, what I would like you to do for homework is this activity here at the top of page 25. You'll notice the verb estudio is used, I study, and then a number of subjects, okay? Luth describes what she studies and what she doesn't study, no estudio. And so does Sergio. And what I would like you to write then is a list to fill in this grid, okay? And the other thing then I would like you to do, girls, is a little bit of work in the white book, which I will put up in the grid of work for this week for Miss Little's classes. Thank you very much, girls. Gracias.